Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the XoneBros. It has been quite a week, quite a huge week. There's been some big moves in the streaming space that we talked about on the pre-show. Mm-hmm. I think YouTube's going to become the #1 streaming game in town shortly. Spicy actually thinks by the end of the year.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Let's say that.
End of this year or end of next year?
Make a bold move. Make a bold
statement. Twitch is going to crumble because they just don't have the hierarchy in their bureaucracy to handle what they're doing with their dumb mistakes. I think the strength of Twitch is not the company. The strength of Twitch is the content creators and the community, minus all the toxicity, of course. But I think that those are what make Twitch Twitch. And basically, I think Twitch just kind of handicaps and cuts the knees out of every content creator that in any way they can. I feel like the ads are terrible. I feel like they bully their content creators, and I think it's going to catch up to them because you have Facebook streaming and YouTube knocking things out of the park. I think they're improving a lot. I think YouTube still lacks some things. I think they need to get gift subs and add a premium Prime service for those that do YouTube Premium. I think they should be able to have a free sub to some of the content live streamers that you like. Mm-hmm. However, if those moves are made, everybody will jump ship. I think Twitch's brand is tarnished because of a lot of things that we talked about on the pre-show. But that's my prediction. I think Twitch is just an awful company. I think the content creators are awesome. I think the communities are awesome. I think the company is terrible. I think Amazon, I'm just going to keep going. I think Amazon knows this. They're the owners of Twitch. And I think they're just trying to just hold on to dear life because Twitch is on top. They will pay the bills. They will take the hits because the streaming is the future of entertainment. It really is. It's what's going to be for the next 100, 200 plus years, being able to have chat while you watch your movies, while you watch your live stuff. It's just the greatest thing in the world. And I'm going to be honest, I think Twitch is not the company to take us to that level. I think other companies are. At this point in time, unless Amazon gets fed up with what they do and clean house with the management that Twitch has, I think my opinion is, in less than a year, Twitch will be lowered from their high throne. And I think, with moves of grabbing Tim the Tatman, Dr. Lupo, the moves are happening again like we used to see back in the Mixer days when things were like, it was like, oh, let's get him, sign a contract. That's starting to happen again. And that means YouTube, they're serious. Facebook is serious. Things are... The only thing holding them back right now is the lack of gifted subs and the lack of a free sub.
Yeah.
That is it. And on YouTube it's called memberships. But that's all that's holding them back. I really think that everybody sees content creators on Switch. They see it. They just roll like... everything they try to do, they just get handicapped, they just get their knees cut out from under them. It's just not a fun thing to see because I love a lot of the streamers I see. And I personally have not watched Twitch since the bullying of 2020 of a lot of streamers that I really like. If you want to know more, instant message me on Discord or just Google search how bad that company is. I'm sorry. I really don't like Twitch. It's pretty obvious. And I think YouTube they see the content creator as the key to growing streaming. And I don't think Twitch sees it in that same light.
Yeah, they're reversed. They see themselves as the kingmaker.
Yeah. Anyways, you asked. So
it's very interesting. Actually, that is what Ryan Watts said. I wonder, did I send you guys that? Let me see if I can.
Yeah, you sent us.
Find that. Mm-hmm. He talked about that's...
And Ryan Watts is the head of YouTube Gaming.
Ryan Watts is the head of YouTube Gaming. That's one of the problems with the current UI on Twitch and something they're trying to fix on YouTube that they've, he's not released the solution to it yet. But on Twitch, when the biggest streamers, the top 1% of streamers get discovered and nobody else does, it makes the platform the kingmaker instead of quality rising to the top. Mm-hmm. And that is one thing that for all the things, all these big tech companies do some stuff that we really like and some stuff that we don't like. Nobody's perfect. None of them are perfect. But one of the things that YouTube does do correctly is if you are creating quality content that people want to see, it just takes time, but you will be discovered and you will grow an audience.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah.
You apply that concept to streaming.
Yeah.
And that's the ball game. Everyone will be there.
So to answer your question or your, my bold statement, I think Twitch is going to not be number one by the end of the year. That's my prediction.
Yeah.
And it's probably completely biased because I hate bullies, and I think Twitch is a bully. So there you go. That's my opinion.
There we go.
I think I woke up on the wrong side of the
bed. It felt
bed.
therapeutic for you.
You know what? Yes. Let's talk about my father.
That's Mr. McSpicy's rant. On Twitch, and no, I think Jordan and I both agree. So let's move on from that. We do have a super chat. Keir Thompson in chat. Everybody, we do live stream over on YouTube every week. The podcast, come join us. YouTube.com/XoneBros. Keir Thompson says, "Love you guys. Your podcast always gets me through my shift at work." Thank you very much, Keir Thompson. We appreciate it. Glad you're here watching, and happy we could get you through your shift, your shifty shaft.
You're shifty. What? I don't want to ever say that ever.
So there was speaking of the Twitch YouTube drama, there was some more drama this week in the interwebs with kind of some console war drama, but not really. It was like console wars on the peripherals. It has to do with Xbox Smart Delivery. So Xbox Smart Delivery is this idea that if you own a game on Xbox, you purchase it on Xbox One, Smart Delivery will automatically upgrade that game for you to to an Xbox Series X or Series S.
Basically, when you buy your game in the Xbox ecosystem, it will download the correct assets to whichever system you're using, whether that be on the Xbox, Xbox One, Xbox One S, Xbox One X, or the newer Xbox Series X. It'll download what your console is capable of at no extra cost.
Yeah, and the reason that this is an issue is because PlayStation 5 fans or PlayStation fans are getting a little bit screwed as of right now. Now, whether or not PlayStation decides to change this policy, I think they kind of have to, from a marketing perspective point. I'm not sure if they will. We'll see. But as of right now, Horizon Forbidden West, which is their new big title,
PS5 PlayStation exclusive, I guess.
PlayStation exclusive, yeah. If you buy it on the PlayStation 4, it costs you $59 or $79 for the special edition. Guess what you have to do if you want to play it on PS5? You have to buy a whole new copy,
which starts at $70 for base edition, which I don't like to begin with already,
because that's that $10 upgrade that these gaming companies are trying to move to. Or you can buy the digital access bundle for $79,
which is $80.
Which gives you access to both.
You get a dual license per se.
So
that's the pricing, right? Now, where people are getting really upset, and I think what is causing a lot of the drama is, I believe it was either earlier this year or last year, when PlayStation said that you will get a upgrade to the new console for free.
Yeah.
So they're going back on what they said, and then that's where Smart Delivery is coming in, because if I buy, let's take Halo Infinite for example. Let's pretend I don't have Game Pass, which is already another great thing for Xbox. Let's say I don't have Game Pass and I want to play the Halo Infinite campaign, and I only have the Xbox One, the original Xbox One. I buy it for I believe it's $60, which again I like that it's not $70.
Yeah,
sure.
Which is fantastic. I get that game and it works as it was intended to work on my Xbox One. Then I decide I want to stay within the Xbox ecosystem, and I purchase myself an Xbox Series X, which I already have. This is all hypothetical. I then go and re-download my game, and it gives me the proper assets for the Xbox Series X, because in Microsoft's eyes, I already own that game, and it comes with me wherever I am within the Xbox ecosystem, right? Yeah. This is what I've been saying for a while, and I do not think Microsoft and Xbox get enough credit for this, but I think Microsoft and Xbox are far more consumer friendly than both Sony and Nintendo.
Well, they've been doing Smart Delivery for like 20 years.
Yeah.
Then what I mean is you right click and you run as, Windows XP edition.
Yeah.
You can run programs in a retro manner. This is not old to them. They understand that they come out,
their PC experience gives them that advantage.
Yeah.
Yeah, some big players in the Xbox space and even in the PlayStation space tweeted about this week. One of the best ones that I found, I think, is Colt Eastwood. He says, when the majority of your fan base can't get a new PS5, don't punish them with an upgrade tax. Do the right thing, PlayStation. That's essentially what it is. It's an upgrade tax. And they can't even get a PlayStation 5 right now anyways. So also, are you holding back people from purchasing a PlayStation 5? Like, yes, I get better graphics. Yes, I get faster load times, but my games cost more.
In addition to your already new $500 machine.
I mean, it's not really hurt them. They're always sold out. So
Yeah.
there is that aspect to it. But yeah, I really do think, like you said, Jordan, I do think it is not what's best for the consumer at all.
No, and I mean, Microsoft gets, like, you know, I don't know. I feel like Microsoft...
They get made fun of a lot for being the
I
opposite.
feel like they get a lot of flack. Like, people like... I mean,
$sign.
There's even big streamers that I really like watching that even kind of like, oh, well, you know, Microsoft should get out of the console business. I don't think they should get out of the console business. I think what they're doing is they're building an ecosystem, right?
Yeah.
And that ecosystem, I think now at the center is Game Pass, right? I mean, Game Pass on its own is probably one of the most consumer-friendly ideas in the gaming industry right now, right? I mean, being able to play your games wherever you want for that monthly fee, whether that be on PC or Xbox, or, you know, and now they have a bundle which includes Xbox Live.
Well, speaking of Game Pass, Craftopia
Is
just
on Game
dropped
Pass.
on Game Pass, and this is the game. If you've not seen the trailer for Craftopia, think of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Take a left turn at every other game mechanic that you can think, and you have Craftopia.
Yeah.
And that's what this game is. This game, I mean, the trailer starts with a dragon mount and quickly goes into crafting, Fortnite mechanics, race cars, battleships,
Stardew Valley.
Stardew Valley, the Zelda
Harvest
Moon, the
Moon,
Zelda
all these,
Glide,
yeah.
of course,
Mounts.
riding cows, Minecraft stuff. And
It's
it's
a
on
cool
Game
game.
Pass.
And
It
it's
is
on
on
Game
Game
Pass.
Pass right now. And that's the value. If you were paying for Game Pass, you can try this out because it is in preview. So it's not a game. It's $24.99, I think, if you pay for it in preview. It's not a game I think I would pay for necessarily, especially
I
with
would
just
probably buy this.
especially everything that's out there right now. Not in preview mode, but
Every
it on
game's in
Game
preview
Pass.
mode
I'll just try
nowadays.
it.
Yeah. What's the deal with that? Every game is in preview mode now,
That's
except
just-
like the super powered AAA games. But then they put their multiplayer mode in they call it beta.
Yeah.
Like that's just the trend now.
Yeah.
Anyway, I really
But,
think
yeah.
for this, speaking of the game, not to derail the conversation, I swear, like when they were in their boardroom and they're like, let's make a game. And they're like, okay, what games do you like? Frank, I like Stardew Valley. And then I like Breath of the Wild. And they just wrote all these down. They did not cross one game off. Every single mechanic in every game ever is in this game.
The motto
true.
was not, we can't put that in there. It was, how do we put that in there?
That is true. That is true.
There was no
Like
holding back.
the tank makes me laugh.
But it's games like this that brings value to Game Pass.
Sure.
You know, which is...
Well, I think every game brings value to Game Pass
Yeah.
because I don't have to play it if it doesn't appeal to me.
Well, and even if we're watching a trailer right now, but I think at the end of this trailer, there will actually be the X and S symbol, which means it's going to be optimized for the Series X. And guess what? Not only do I have to pay for it because it's on Game Pass, I mean, yeah, I have to pay my monthly fee for over 100 games, but so not only do I mean, it's already on Game Pass, I don't have to pay for an upgrade.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just Microsoft is incredibly consumer friendly right now. I say right now because they're not.
Can we say
they're-
Xbox is? Can we say, or do you think it's entirely?
Well,
Let's
I
say
want to give
Xbox.
credit.
That's
I want to
Xbox,
give
yeah.
credit to
Xbox.
Phil.
Okay,
Let's
yeah.
give Phil credit.
Well, I think he might run the company at this point.
I mean,
Because
we
he's
know
doing good. So Xbox is very consumer friendly right now. I say right now because
we've known for a while that they view Xbox as one of their most positive brands. Microsoft. I mean, that they've come out and said that, and it's why if you notice on even their Windows preview that they showed of their new Windows
11.
Windows 11, Xbox was prominent there as well, and so that I know that that's one of their most positive brands, and I think with good reason at this point. It's just it's value upon value upon value, and it's why you've got to be excited for this next generation. What are we, a year into the generation now? A year and a half into the generation? You've got to be excited for it.
No, I am too. Well, and a lot of people think like going back to what I said, some people think that Xbox or Microsoft should drop like the console, you know, since they're putting all their games on PC. I don't think that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
You know, let's be honest. Which company pioneered crossplay or very heavily pushed crossplay?
Xbox.
It definitely, according to court cases, it definitely wasn't Sony. So, but it was Xbox, right? And that only brings.
I mean, Epic Games is there when they decided to flip their Sony Switch.
Yeah,
Sony Switch.
yeah. Well, okay, being
Wasn't that Rocket?
it was Rocket League.
Was it Rocket League?
Okay.
Rocket League went whoops. Oh, sorry. Everyone play for a day. Sorry. Okay, we'll turn that switch off. I guess it is
So I
possible.
want to show you that it's possible, everyone.
Being fair, I guess it's more the studios and developers that have done it. And yes, you can go back and say Final Fantasy did it and, you know, stuff like that. But I feel like as a platform, Xbox says, hey, let's bring down the barriers and let you play how you want to play.
Yeah.
You know, and I think they're the ones that push that. And it's become, I mean, it's almost like I kind of get upset when games don't cross progression more so than cross play. I'm like, you know, I jump over my PC and I'm like, my stuff's not here. It kind of upsets
Every
me.
time that doesn't happen now, it's a kick in the balls.
I know it really is.
It hurts harder
really
than
is.
before.
It really is.
Every month that goes by, and another game does that, and you can't get the same progression on another platform that you're playing on. It's a kick in the balls.
No, it is, and I know there's I know. Like ESO, for example, I wish they could do crossplay. I don't understand why they can't. Or cross progression. Cross progression would be great. They have come out and said it's much more complicated than just saying it, which I'm sure that you can't just flip a switch. You have to do something, but I don't think that's what's holding them back from doing from some of these companies doing stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
And I'm glad that developers like Epic, who have probably Epic and Psyonix and even Square Enix with Final Fantasy have kind of, I guess they were the original pioneers, and then Microsoft was just the first big platform that got on board with it. So, but anyway, and that all ties into a very Xbox consumer friendly bubble.
It does. It really does.
What was your question?
Just Craftopia. I want to talk about Craftopia and Game Pass. I'm very excited to jump into this. We just discovered this a little while ago. The beginning of summer, I think, that we saw this for
when
the
we saw the
first time.
first trailer, I think we saw it at E3 or something.
Yeah, it's been on Steam for sure. So it's just...
Which is another Microsoft platform.
Yeah.
Windows.
But a lot of PC guys don't know that. But
yeah,
it's true. You have Windows to play Steam's
It's
games.
true. Guys, I've been playing Psychonauts. I've continued to play Psychonauts. And can I just say, last week I said the level building blows my mind. Diving deeper in, it only... My thoughts on that have only increased in excitement and improvement.
I'm going to say this since we're talking about it. I think Psychonauts is probably one of my favorite, and in my opinion, one of the best 3D platformers since Mario 64.
It's that, in my opinion, it's that.
And
good.
I say 3D platformers because I do feel that 2D and 3D have a little bit different.
Yeah, no, they absolutely do.
But
Just the way the story is being told at where I'm at right now, and the way the levels work. Have you done the casino levels?
Yeah.
Yet, like the way that
what's her name? The Luctopus? Luctopus or something like that? Yeah.
The way that you do that, where you have to go to each different thing on the level on the cube, and each one is different, and it interacts really well with each other, and the way your friends are in there are just so cool, and the entire concept is so unique that you are, and I know Psychonaut fans, longtime Psychonaut fans will say, well, where were you? Well, this was always the case. I didn't play the first Psychonauts. But that you're inside someone's mind, helping them, planting ideas. It's not just good storytelling. It's next level ideas of storytelling that just leave you in awe, on top of next level design.
Well, I think it's an example of a game developer taking a risk and making a game, because there's a lot of games that just repeat the same formula over and over again. And
yeah.
I actually think Nintendo is the best at doing this, changing up formulas and taking risks on games. Some of them hit, some of them don't, you know. But I, like you said, the ideas they have in this game, the way the way the levels are designed and how they tell the story isn't really in any other game. It's their own style of game, and I like developers that do that because it makes it a fun and exciting and a new experience.
It's what gaming is all about. That's what I feel this game does. This is what great games do, is remind you why gaming is a blast. It's not just a carbon copy of some other game with mechanics that you're used to, just with a different skin over it. Great games are entirely unique unto themselves, and that's what this has. Spicy, have you had a chance to play any more of it?
So I wasn't able to turn on my Xbox this entire week.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, unfortunately. But I mean, I'm pretty far into the game.
Are we gonna have to talk you off the ledge here soon?
Probably. Yeah, probably. It's pretty rough. It's been a rough week for me.
Yeah, I just thoroughly.
I'm pretty far into the game.
Yeah.
I'm very far into the game already. I gave my thoughts last week pretty extensively. I think it's a fantastic game. Still.
Yeah, I the other thing is my kids sit and it's a family game in the respect that my kids sit and watch me play and they're hooked. And I don't think that they understand what's going on, but I think the voice acting is really good and the color palette is such that it just grabs you and it appeals to children. And so if you're looking for a game that you can play as a family with your kids, I think this is one of them.
Yeah,
cool.
It's really fun. Anyways, I did want to talk about Psychonauts because this is going to be my second game I finish of the year.
Good for you.
Right.
Omno was an accomplishment. It's just been one of those years. This one, I'm on point. Which actually brings us to a question that we have. iStewKing91 writes in. Thank you very much, iStewKing, for writing in. He says, "Hey bros, as we all have crazy lives, I'm struggling to keep up with so many great games at the moment thanks to Game Pass. What do you guys do to combat this? Do you deep dive into one game, then move on, or play a few hours of each? I love the show, Stu." Hey, thank you very much, Stu King. Also, everybody, if you want to write in, you can do so every single week on our community tab on YouTube. We push, we have a mail sack that goes up, so come and leave your question there and have a chance for it to get answered here on the show. But I wanted to bring this up for Ice Stu because I noticed. You want to know the number one thing in that I've noticed? I've increased my game playing in the last 3 months tenfold. Mm-hmm. And it's that I finally have a setup, and I never realized my setup was hindering my gameplay time. I have a big old comfortable couch in my basement. My screen is right in front of me, and it's just a comfortable place with great lighting that I can enjoy the game. Before I had it in my office, I mean, this is my office, but it's been a new office, but my office wasn't the most comfortable. I had gotten a couch. It wasn't the most comfortable couch. Just moving to a comfortable couch has made all the difference for me.
Yeah.
Where I struggled to play games before because it wasn't that comfortable, relaxing experience that it could be. So my advice, if you're struggling to not just find time to play games, but you're struggling to find the desire to play games.
Have a safe space to play.
Exactly. Yeah. Have a dedicated place that is comfortable. And that for me has increased it tenfold.
And you don't need an entire room for this. David has he's mentioned his portable. Remember your Walmart portable location?
Gaming station.
Yeah.
The gaming station. It was on wheels. It was on what was that? It
was just a cart, a little entertainment cart.
An entertainment cart. He put a little cable power strip on there
inside. So there was just one plug. Bloop.
Put a monitor on top, the Xbox or on other consoles and everything you needed on the bottom, and he just rolled that to wherever
wanted to play in the house. Which I kind of have that set up in my office now with the couch. It's a 27-inch 4K gaming monitor, and it's on wheels, and I just roll it right up to the couch. And my Xbox Series X is on my desk. I just got a really long HDMI cord.
Yeah.
And it just comes right up to, and it's ultimate comfort.
So what I'm saying is you don't need to have all the bells and whistles. Just get a whistle.
Just get a whistle. You don't need bells. Just get a whistle. Yeah. Now, Jordan, I think is the strategy of playing a lot of games simultaneously.
If you want to play as many games as you can manage, he's the guy to talk to.
So what is your strategy? How do you successfully do that? Because I do that, but I never finish them.
You just got to power through a game.
He's a power. He just mentals up.
And it always gets hard towards the end of the year because that's when you get all your holiday games. You know, so you
You're
want
big
to
boys.
try and beat all those 10 to 15 hour campaigns as quick as you can, and then just jump into those. Because like when Battlefield comes out, that's you're playing that multiplayer basically till Halo comes out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's just
So
luckily there's no single player campaign in that
and
one,
you
so can
do
jump right
sacrifice sleep to go through these games.
in. Sometimes
Yeah. So it does, but keep in mind, you might have to sacrifice to play games if it's something that you really like. If you are burnt out, I think that's part of this question too. Gaming burnout. Sometimes don't force it. Sometimes
Yeah,
you
you
need
just
to take a
gotta step
step
away.
back, and then you'll eventually come back. A lot of times, I think work, especially over the last year, as we work from home and our work home life becomes melded together. That's where I've noticed it's difficult to create that space. And I think me having like this comfortable couch, that couch
Well, it's almost like
is
you're
my
not
non-work space.
you're not coming home to relax anymore because you didn't really leave.
Yeah,
for
so
work,
I think that's
So-
screwed up a lot of people's gaming time. And Spicy's a veteran of the work from home melding,
pot
dealing with
thing.
that.
That's why there's bags under my
Yeah,
eyes.
how do you successfully do you game in the same place that you work?
Yeah.
You used to not.
I know. I used to not, but I had to turn that place into the Dungeons and Dragons location. That's where the D&D table is. So I can't play up there anymore.
Yeah.
So my setup is there's my work PC, and then to the left of it, right over there, I guess I could show people, but I'll do that later. I have a TV at the station. I would say that's not the best move. For me, the best move is to have a place for work and have a place for gaming.
Yeah.
If you can. Because it's hard to...
Because there's your mind does thing. You like it's like drugs, right? If it's like smoking. A lot of when you're trying to quit smoking, a lot of it is about friends and location. Like there are just places that you go to smoke, and people you hang out with when you smoke.
Okay.
Right? Gaming is similar and it's because it's a habit. Gaming is similar in the respect that if I'm always, and this was my problem before, if I'm always in the same place that I'm working, my mind goes into work mode, not enjoyment mode. And I struggled to go to that same place to game. If you have a dedicated place for gaming, it becomes it's much easier obstacle to get over.
So I'm in an off season of my perfect gaming setup right now. But to answer your question, I've yet to successfully do it. I understand this question entirely. It's pretty tough.
You are, though, Spicy style-wise, is a deep dive single game guy.
I play a game hard, very hard.
And then he walks
And
away.
then I walk, and then I wash my hands of it, and I walks
away with no regrets.
No regrets, never going back.
Yeah. So there are different styles there. We do have a super chat. DJ Hero drops a super chat. Thank you very much. He says, my college esports team that I coach just won the national competition for best jersey, and I wanted to throw money at someone to celebrate.
All right.
DJ Hero,
Congrats.
Congratulations. Dude, speaking of esports, how far are we from esports really becoming into the mainstream? We talked about Twitch is in this, or streaming's in this adjustment period. It's going to change over the next couple of years. Gaming's going to adjust in the next couple of years. Where does esports fit in that algorithm?
Another
Spicy?
10 years for the old people to die.
Yeah.
That's it.
Will we see it in the Olympics?
The Olympics, that one's going to be a rough one. Maybe eventually, but I don't think we're close to that yet. It's definitely you have to get rid of the stereotype gamer, whatever it is, the chubby, whatever the stereotype is. That has to be completely gone. And in a lot of parts it is. Like in South Korea, those are athletes. We're talking 12 hours a day for the first, since you're 5 years old till you're 16, of just one game.
Yeah.
StarCraft, for example.
Where your muscles are just, it's like, I played soccer growing up, as did you. When I was in high school till I realized, kicking a ball is not a natural movement. Because you've just been doing it's just natural to you.
And we are getting better. When I say we, everyone outside of South Korea.
Yeah.
We are getting better at being good at video games. We were good until we saw them play. We thought we were good until we saw them play, basically. But the Olympics, that's a rough one. I'd like to see it in my lifetime, but that's going to be a tough nut to crack.
Yeah.
But it's definitely possible. I mean, you at one point having skateboarding and snowboarding in the Olympics was are we ever going to see it in our lifetime conversation as well? So
And that's here now, yeah.
So, it's definitely a possibility. I hope it would be, but definitely, what's going to happen? It's as soon as a Dota or a League or a StarCraft or a just a tournament, when that brings in more money on NBC than the Olympics,
That's when we'll see the jump mainstream.
that's when they're gonna put a game in there. The thing is, though, it's a hard one because hardware changes, whereas hardware changes faster than our physical bodies. And I know that sounds weird, but athletes they get better and better every year, and you wonder why. It's because the training gets better and better every year. So the bodies, that takes a little bit.
It becomes more scientific.
Correct. Mm-hmm. Whereas a game, at the most, lasts a decade.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
So you're always having to adjust.
Maybe they'll start out by bringing speed running to the Olympics.
Oh,
I mean, that's a good point.
Because they're
That's-
still speed running Mario 64.
Yeah, that's interesting. Jordan, Jordan just blew my mind.
Yeah.
But
I don't think that'll bring in the users as much as like Warzone would, or
sure,
or
the games
Dota,
that
or
people can relate to a little bit more. I think it's possible. Maybe you don't need to be in the Olympics. Maybe you just need to replace them.
Yeah.
Which
have the gaming Olympics, which don't they technically already have with like Blizzard does the World WCS.
What I mean,
stuff like that.
What I mean by replacing them, I really mean the same thing I said previous. When NBC, or in this case YouTube live streaming at that point, when they have to make a decision, do we grab that contract for the Olympics or do we grab the Dota contract? And it's, this one will make us more money. Okay, the new tournament is going to be that shown, and now you have to go to our off-brand, our esports or our Olympic Channel 8, just the ESPN 8,
Olympic Channel 8.
That's when
That's
you
totally a thing too.
Yeah, because I think it's definitely possible, and people are probably saying you're crazy. And I was told I was crazy 10 years ago when I said that esports is going to be a thing, and now we see that on ESPN. We see tournaments on ESPN now. So
DJ Hero, who is a esports college coach, says I think someday it will be bigger than the Olympics. So he does agree with you. Back to our original discussion on where to game, or previous one. T-Buck says he does game in his office, but when it's game time, he turns on the RGB lights, and then it's game on. That's effectively creating two different rooms.
That's true.
Well done, T-Bucks. Brian F. says, skills always improving. I always hear that before Tony Hawk. People couldn't do a 1080, but after he did it, it's been done several times after. Yeah, no, it's the same with...
And by a 12-year-old.
Yeah, it's the same thing with running once someone breaks like the mile time, the 4-minute mile could never be done. The 5-minute mile can never. Once someone does it, multiple people are able to do it. It's just, it takes that initial crux. And it's the same with, I think, streaming and popularity, or not streaming, but esports popularity. It will just take one to do it, and then more will come.
Wasn't there a 2-hour sprint that was recently done that's like the record was just nuts? I think the average was like a 4.5-minute mile for 2 hours.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't.
Just recently. I could be crazy. Chat can tell me.
They average your mile time for marathon runners, and maybe it was that. I think,
and it was just like it just destroyed everything.
Yeah.
It was. I thought it was recently, but I guess I don't know. I'm not into real sports anymore. I'm an esports guy.
I'll tell you what we before the show we watched the new Battlefield Operator trailer and the different skills there. Let's start, Jordan. Do you think that the skills, for those of you who haven't watched the Battlefield 2042 Operator trailer, go watch it right now and then come back to this discussion. Number one, do you think the skills are a good match for the game at this point? Do they seem balanced? And number two, what is your favorite skill from what we've seen?
I don't know. They're all good. Yeah. So basically, what they're doing is they're getting rid of the traditional class system, and each operator kind of stems off of the classes, like the assault, the engineers, the support.
Yeah.
So what they're doing in this trailer is they showed us 4 operators, and one of them comes from each of those traditional classes, like the engineer, So basically, every operator has what they call a specialty, which is like your main ability. So, for example, one operator has a grappling hook, another operator has a dart gun that can heal from afar, and then everybody has a trait, which is essentially like a passive. Now, the passives, I think, are meant to complement your game style rather than change the game, which makes sense because they're just a passive. And those passives complement, like the assault, while aiming down sight, gets a movement bonus. So he can move a little bit quicker when he aims down sight than, say, the support class.
Like
when he
right strafing?
Yeah, like strafing, and so at least that's how it reads when we watch the trailer. The recon class, the sniper, they have a drone for their main ability, and then their passive is they get like a. We'll have to see how it works in game, but they get essentially like a small
alert
notification that someone's behind them.
Yep. It's in red.
Yeah,
red
so
arrows.
which would help a sniper, because snipers traditionally are in a position looking forward. So if you can like almost detect if someone's behind you,
It makes sniping from any location viable.
yeah. So, and I mean, obviously it's not the whole battlefield. It's probably a range. But anyway, I actually like the system that they're doing. I like the way they're going with this. And it looks good. They already did make one change, so it's good that they're making changes and testing things out in all these technical alphas that they're doing. The change, the lady with the dart gun, I guess she used to be able to revive with that dart gun. Now it just heals, because apparently during testing they found that it was incredibly overpowered, being able to revive from afar.
Yeah, what's interesting about these classes is this to me is proof that we are not going to see another Battlefield multiplayer edition. They're going to be like
What do you mean?
Warzone, because instead of classes, we're going to individuals with specific skills, and what that enables you to do is what Apex does, what Rainbow Six does.
So
drop additional characters every so often to refresh the game.
I'm gonna counter that with they've already been doing this for a while. They're just calling it something different. The support would throw down, not the support, was it the engineer would throw down the ammo to your teammates. That was its ability, ability. The combat medic could heal faster, or
Sure.
actually, that was its ability. Battlefield has always technically had what we're seeing. We're just now seeing names to these characters.
Yeah, I think that's substantial.
One,
because
they're more niche. So there's going to be 10 operators at launch. They're not all going to have the same abilities. So like the one at least how we understand it, there may be another medical operator, but she has different traits and abilities than the other medical operator.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. That's how we're reading
the fact
it now.
that you give them names instead of just generic classes, to me, says this enables us to bring additional characters. With
I don't think it's going to be the
different passives and
last
stuff.
Battlefield multiplayer. I think they'll add on to this. I think.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is this is
because Battlefield jumps to time periods, right? Now, you could make the argument that Battlefield Portal replaces your future Battlefields, because in Portal you basically can eventually at one point add all the Battlefield games, which are all different time periods and different weapons. I mean, keeping that balanced may or may not be difficult. That's why it's kind of a different mode. But the thing with Battlefield is they always wait multiple years before iterations anyway. So it's not like I think we'll probably see another Battlefield. I would say because of the way they're doing this one, and I think it'll be more live service, because that just seems to be the way games are going. I don't think we'll see another new Battlefield. I would say I don't know,
5 years,
5 to 8 years maybe.
So yeah,
I think a good chunk, a good chunk of time, and that's just because I'm thinking with Battlefield Portal, you could add a lot with Battlefield Portal, and Battlefield Portal, because it's basically Battlefield's version of or Battlefield 2042's versions of. You can compare it to like a Forge mode or a custom server mode. I think that brings a lot of life into your game, which again is a bummer why Halo's not launching with it, but hopefully,
Spicy. Let's answer T-Buck's question here. I'll have you answer it. T-Buck says, haven't been as hyped for this game since Cyberpunk, but there's no way they poop the bed like Cyberpunk did, right?
I don't think anybody's going to poop the bed like Cyberpunk does.
You say that.
Because that was... I mean, the other big, let's call it poop the bed, was Battlefront. But Battlefront wasn't necessarily broken. I mean, it was broken in the respect that it was pay to win, but it wasn't broken in the respect that you couldn't actually play the game. You know, I think Cyberpunk, unfortunately, released a game that was not finished. And I know we say that a lot, but there's not finished, which is like your normal release, and then there's really not finished, which was another game, and then Cyberpunk was probably a few notches below that.
So I guess we got to define poop the bed. Is that what we're defining? Like, is it, if it's broken? Because previous Battlefield, they pooped the bed in their marketing department. So the game
and online,
well, and Battlefield 4 really
online, which is now considered
they
one of the
pooped
best
the bed.
Battlefields.
Yeah.
They cleaned it up.
It took
they
a year to
they
wipe
changed. Yeah, they changed the sheets.
and the bedpan.
Yeah, but
They had to
they
change
got
it
it. And now I think it's the best bed out there in the Battlefield universe. Yeah, they did soil it.
So with this, what's their Forge mode? What's it called? The
So
Portal.
it's
Portal?
I don't want to. Yeah, but it leans towards that
we're-
Forge. Yeah, it's Battlefield Portal though. Custom servers. Stuff
My
like that.
only concern is splitting the player base up too much, and I'm thinking that's why like games like Halo Infinite, these perpetual Warzone, these perpetual game modes, being their marquee multiplayer, games, you have to have a singular place for gamers to go that are in your fan base to play. If my only concern is if you start doing all these other, are they planning on doing previous guns, previous all that stuff? If that splits the player base so much that you can never find a game in whatever you're trying to do in the game modes that are less popular. I mean, it happens all the time. I mean,
look at. I mean, what was it? Was it Modern Warfare 2 that had like 25 different modes?
Yeah.
I mean,
there's a danger in doing something like that and not having a localized place to play the specific game modes that you're known for.
Yeah, you don't want to stretch yourself. It's like an economy.
No,
you
I get what you're saying. I mean, I don't know. I guess it can go both ways, right? Because I think a thing like Battlefield Portal could add longevity to your game, like it does with, like take Battlefield 4, for example.
Yeah.
A lot of those servers you're playing on are custom servers now. You know what I mean? So there's still room there. But
well, they were always custom.
Yeah,
even on launch, they were like weird.
I do think cross-play helps with that issue because you're drawing from a bigger pool of people. Yeah. But no, I get what you're saying. So I do. I mean, they're not going crazy with their game. We essentially have three pillars, right? You have the main Battlefield experience, which I assume is just going to be Conquest and Rush, how the developer intends it to be played. And then you have Portal, which is your custom, let's just call it custom servers or a, Forge area. And then you have whatever this new Tarkov-esque mode is going to be in Hazard Zone, right?
Yeah. Do we know anything more about that?
Nope, still waiting. Yeah, still waiting.
I think it's...
Which potentially probably could take most of your player base, depending on how it's
depending
done.
on how good it is.
Yeah,
successful. Now, if you have them cooperate with each other, like they synchronize, so you get different credits by playing different games, and they force you to play 2 games. I don't know how you do that.
Call of Duty.
Well, I think I don't know. I guess
and
one way to counter it is like with your dailies. But the thing is I don't like if you have daily quests and stuff. But again, I don't like a game telling me where and how I have to play.
Blizzard,
especially if it's like a sandbox game like this. I think it's gonna be. Let's compare it to Halo, because Halo kind of has 3 pillars as well. There's your core multiplayer. There's Forge mode. Yeah. Which is, let's call it custom multiplayer, and then there's campaign. You know what I mean? I think if you deliver a solid experience, players are going to naturally jump between those organically. There probably will be more popular modes than others, but I don't know. I think you can do it, but I get what you're saying, especially when the game starts to lose steam after like the initial year of high. The first year you got other newer games coming out.
And when you're going, like you said, 6 years between releases.
Yeah, and adding stuff. I mean, I don't know. I think it's the nature of being a game developer. You have to think of ways to prevent that, right? And didn't actually Call of Duty patent a way to keep players in the game? Didn't they patent it? Like it's a patent that they? I don't know. It's something. Remember?
Well, I know that in order to play the game you want, you have to buy the game you don't want. So
Yeah.
I know they did patent that.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's going to be an interesting experience. I mean, I think they'll be okay because I think Battlefield does have a solid core audience or community.
And it's a large community.
And
too.
I think this game will bring a lot of those community members back because let's be honest, even if you look at influencers, they've not necessarily left the game. They still enjoy Battlefield, but they're playing different games because Battlefield 5 unfortunately just didn't deliver on a lot of the stuff
that we wanted.
That
they wanted to give to us.
Yeah, whereas this is coming in with a lot of hype. People are getting excited. But again, I mean, a year down the road, all that's going to be gone. You're just going to have that. So it's going to be interesting to see.
I sound like a broken record here, but they do even in showing off these new not classes, but
they're
operators.
They're like underneath a hero class. What? It's hard because they're not. It's not Rainbow. It's even less than Rainbow Six abilities.
Yeah, it's just. There's
very light touching on the heroic part.
Yeah. And that's why I think we're going to see more operators in the future because and I think it's smart that it's a light touch because no one operator really changes the game, so you're not constantly
complement each other.
You're not constantly having balance issues that have to be addressed season in and season out.
Well, they didn't have that in the last one, and there was constantly balance issues.
Yeah, but that was yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Some of it was by their own doing.
Regardless, they do feel super focused.
Well, I mean that's
true.
I think that's a good question. Would you say like let's take Forge mode because that's what I kind of compare Battlefield Portal to with these crazy custom modes that you can do. Would you say Forge mode hurts or helps Halo? You know what I mean? I think overall it helps.
I see Forge mode. I mean, okay, Forge mode is the game you play with your friends, just dicking around.
Yeah.
And some cool, fun,
Yeah.
weird, zanky stuff. The difference between how Halo was before and how games are now is the perpetual leveling up and improvement to your character as you have your character growth. That didn't exist necessarily before, and so that's why the marquee or the focus of your multiplayer is generally going to catch the player base in one location where you can level it up the most. I remember I became a huge fan in Call of Duty on Search and Destroy
because it was the highest experience.
That was the high. If you could make kills, that was the highest and fastest experience you can get out of all the game modes, and so the reason it grabbed me is because that's where it was the loot cave of experience, which it wasn't a loot cave. It was just how you played the game. But you get what I'm saying. The place where players can go to gain the most for their character development is where players are going to go.
Yeah, well, that'll be interesting because, and people can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you still get level up experience from the Portal mode as well. Now, I don't know if it's going to be lessened or equal to, and then Hazard Zone, I assume it's going to have its own level up system, which will keep players there, for that game mode. But it's going to be interesting because, I mean, if you think of like going back to Halo with Forge mode, the reason we have Griffball and Infection, which are two very popular modes, is because of Forge, Yeah. And I mean, it is a huge bummer that Forge mode won't be there at launch, but I think at least having Forge mode come in 6 months into the game, I think will rejuvenate the game because after 6 months you'll have people waning off, and then that'll bring them back. But I don't know. Maybe Battlefield Portal will give us our Battlefield Griffball mode that we've been wanting.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I've wanted it.
I wonder how much power they're going to do in regards to the engine and the bullet damage and stuff like that.
They had a while back. They had a Battlefield Portal, talk about or whatever whatever.
A walkabout.
Yeah, walkabout.
A campfire setting.
Yeah.
We all sat around a campfire and chatted.
It was a
very safe place.
Where they chatted about it, and they basically said they're going to give you a lot of control because they essentially said it's going to be almost like how certain game engines are, where you take this property or this I don't know, this value, and you plug it into this value, which then makes a new value. You know what I mean? They say they're gonna give you quite a bit of control. Now, I think a lot of that control is gonna be on the PC, with it being cross-play and cross progression, which again I like. You'll probably be able to go to your PC, make a custom mode, download it, and then be able to play it on your Xbox or wherever you're at. But it does. We won't know until we get there. But when they did the show off, I think they showed 3 or 4 different content creators. They made completely opposite games. And they did talk about wanting to give a lot of that customization to the player. Now, obviously, you have to make it user-friendly, so people can use. But it sounds like you're going to have a lot of options. And to be honest, one of the game modes I'm most excited for is 5 modern soldiers with modern weaponry against 100 Germans with World War II weaponry.
That's cool.
I mean, that's
Well,
obviously
the
they're
knife
able
fight versus the defibrillators.
Yeah. So obviously you're able to do stuff like that. I do think it's one of those things where they can update it over time. So we'll see what happens, and then of course it's going to be a live service game, so you can almost expect battle passes and stuff like that to hope to keep players there, because that's
How many times a day do you think developers have these kind of conversations, or initially, or
Well, I mean, good developers or
that's true. Let's say good developers, because it's probably because you want to have this stuff in mind, right?
I guarantee good developers. If you have good leadership on your team, I guarantee they go over it tons.
Because that has to be the focus.
And they test it over and over and over, right? So I guarantee obviously there's teams dedicated to this mode, but...
how many ideas are scratched because you spend all this time, months, developing something, because in game development you can't do something in a week.
Hundreds of ideas, I'm sure.
And then you put all this time and money into an idea, and then you finally go back to that target and go, well, this isn't really in the end user's best interests to have this on here. And then to just scratch it. I bet that happens so much.
Oh, yeah,
I bet it's so frustrating.
I mean, didn't Halo 3 basically get cut off of Halo 2? Like, it was all one game, and then they're like, let's just scratch that whole last half.
Well, have you seen how StarCraft 2 is made, how long it took, and how many iterations of the game that they just scratched and started over and then scratch it? That game took 12 years to develop, which is not as that's not as bad now when you have developers like Rockstar, but back then a 12-year game development cycle was
to be fair,
not normal.
To be fair, due to recent allegations, there may have been other reasons it took long. So we could, there's
that's true.
Now
their focus may have been in other locations.
may have been elsewhere. So it's hard to tell with Blizzard right now. But I think you're right.
Anyway, something to think about. Because game development's got to be a tough.
Well, I would like to be on
good game development.
Good game development. No, going with that, I would just like to know how they organize things. Because let's just take Battlefield. There's guaranteed hundreds, if not thousands, of people working on this game, and you got one game director, right? I mean, does he just have like a flowchart whiteboard, and he's okay? Steve's on that, and you know what I mean? Like how the organization of how everything has to come together, especially towards the end. I mean, obviously you have teams and departments with their own heads that obviously report up to the game director, but I mean, imagine the logistics behind making a AAA, a good AAA game. And then you take a company like Rockstar who has studios all over the world, same with DICE, but has studios all over the world in different locations. So it's not like you can just put this in the mail tube and send it over.
The undertaking is crazy. I know that animators for movies, Pixar and stuff like that, there are people that spend 2 years on 5 seconds of footage.
Yeah, I actually saw a documentary on Frozen, and it was a lady. Her job was like the reindeer running through the forest for a 30-second clip.
Yeah. Whew. Yeah. Whew. And then you add in all the balance. Movies don't have to be balanced.
Well, I think David did.
Yeah.
It's true. It's true.
Well, I think me and David talked about this one time. We heard a guy, he was a programmer, and he worked for Bethesda, and he basically said he was doing something, but he said
he was over the pots.
Yeah, and he was like he was talking to people that wanted to be programmers, and he basically said, "Look,
you like doing
if you want to be a programmer, this is the job." And he said, my job for 2.5 years was pots. Nothing. Like he says, I made sure when a character ran into a pot, it acted appropriately. When someone picked up a pot, when someone did, like it all acted appropriately, right? His point was, he says, don't be fooled. Like, not everybody's Todd Howard, and is like the game director role is a very 1 in a million shot. That was the idea. But he says, if you want to be a programmer, make sure you love what you're doing, because you could be working on pots for 2 years.
Yeah, Todd Howard's the NFL quarterback. There's only 32 of them.
there's. So, but I mean, imagine. I mean, that guy was working on pots, right? Imagine like a position like Todd Howard, or who I really feel for is Yoshi P, the Final Fantasy director, because they said, all right, turn it around and make us money. And he was like, okay.
That's when he takes a all right, you got to do exactly what I say.
Yeah. Well, no, and that's actually, his story is cool, but because from what I understand, and we've probably told this before, but I love this story. This guy inspires me. Apparently, he went home for 2 weeks, and he basically he played World of Warcraft. He basically went through all these things that games did right. And after 2 weeks, he came back to the heads of Square Enix, and he said, all right, here's my plan. You have 2 choices. You can spend this much money, and we can fix this game in 2 years.
This is Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah,
right?
Basically, if you do exactly what I say, or you can permanently damage the brand, right? And can you imagine walking into the boardroom of executives,
I wonder how much sleep he got in those 2 weeks.
Okay.
There's a lot of Mountain Dew drink.
Total side note. So you know how World of Warcraft Classic came out? Yeah. For nostalgia, people wanted to go back and play the game how it originally was. Yoshi P was asked that same question. He says, "Have you ever thought about bringing back the original servers, so people can be nostalgic?" And he and it was hilarious because I think there's basically anyway. So he basically laughed, and the word he said in English was nightmare. He said nightmare, and then he gave the proper political answer that you're supposed to give, right? But I think that guy, he's a very talented game director.
Yeah, cool.
Anyway, I would like to know the logistics of making a game.
Well, it's got to be the hierarchy of how many people, to make all that happen. Oh my gosh,
a good game.
Yeah. We're talking good games.
For example, someone did not send the memos over at CD Projekt Red with Cyberpunk. There was a breakdown in their logistics on how to get that game out.
Well, so I work for a gaming company, and
what are the logistics?
It's very so. Just like the guy that just works on pots. In order for a successful gaming company to happen, and I mean, my gaming companies, we're seeing lots of success. It's super specialized. So I'm over community, for instance, and as we grow, that will even become more specialized. So I'm in the process of hiring people whose only job all day will be Discord. We have people whose only job all day is Twitter. This is just from a community management standpoint. And so you take that to game features, and you have people whose only job is quality control, double checking this guy's work, and so it's a lot. Can you imagine a big AAA game?
What's crazy about all that?
Thing is super specialized.
What's crazy about all that is even with your company, all of that has to be sewn together to work.
Well, and then what you have is so the person that I work most closely with is an operations manager. So that person's job is to get me what I need, and connect it with the developers and what they need, and make sure that there's this transfer of information that's happening.
So what you're saying is that job's probably hard.
That job's the middleman. That job, that person needs to make a lot of money.
That job is the equivalent of passing notes in gym class.
That job.
No, that's like that.
Yeah. That job. Well, and that job has to deal with that takes organization and OCD and attention to detail, and not being afraid to say, hey, we got to get this done. Nobody's business. That job.
Well, and I don't mean that in
really tough.
I don't mean that in a demeaning way. I mean that you have to make sure this department communicates with this department without them actually talking to each other, and both being happy for things to work.
So I'm sure at big companies, big AAA studios, there's a guy whose only job is to get everybody coffee.
Oh, I know that exists.
And that guy's probably stressed.
That exists in my world too.
Yeah. It's called the intern. It's a college student that
The
you get
unpaid intern.
to do that. Yeah.
People gotta eat, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy. Gone in 60 sales.
Yeah, got in 60
Let's take 2 questions before we get out of here. Let's take Brian F's question first. Brian F wrote in, everybody, if you want to write in again, youtube.com/XoneBros, hit that community tab and submit your question every single week. He says, hey guys, I keep hearing about how Xbox's first party lineup is going to be much stronger than Sony's this holiday season for the first time in a long time. I'm thinking about how they have transitioned over the past 5 years or so from playing the defensive to really taking the offensive. Do you believe their mentality will still be able to stay strong with innovation and fan-friendly features in the future?
I would hope so, because that is
the key,
what has
right?
got them to where they are now.
Yeah, that's the key. And ultimately what does it is competition. It's why you want healthy competition. You don't necessarily want one company dominating. What you end up getting with that is Madden.
And $70 games.
Which is, Madden, where there's no competition. So what do they have? They don't have to bring you the features that players want season in and season out. They can continuously skip out on them. And I think competition is important. And that's why Xbox is in the position that it's in, because it was losing. It was getting punched in the face repeatedly. It finally decided.
Yeah, I mean, well, they came
First,
off.
they had to play defense. First, step 1, stop getting punched in the face. Step 2, start to punch back.
Yeah, well, because they were coming off. They were coming off a high of the 360. I mean, the 360.
high.
I mean, I know PlayStation eventually caught up to the 360, but 360 just dominated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they came out with they just really marketed it wrong, is all.
It was a case of it being before its time, and they kind of just said the wrong things to the wrong people.
Yeah.
The people that would buy their machine, basically, they said the wrong things to.
Spicy. You think they'll be able to keep up this momentum that they have
Oh, sure.
and innovation?
Yeah.
It
They
does
have-
take leadership.
Well,
Correct
yeah.
leadership.
Oh, yeah, Phil Spencer. And that's why I feel horrible for the guy who takes Phil Spencer's spot.
It's like
Like,
the
you
guy.
want to be the guy after.
It's like the guy. It's like the guy at Alabama that takes Nick Saban's spot.
Oh, yeah. You don't want to be that guy. You want to be the guy after that.
That is impossible.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm sure they'll get someone good. I hope. But I think Phil Spencer's kind of built, I don't know, what would you call?
He's a gamer.
Yeah,
He's a
like
gamer.
he's really
He's a
That makes a
gamer
big
with
difference.
corporate abilities.
yeah.
And he smells great.
Yeah, he does. He smells.
I've smelled him.
Yeah, I should email his email and ask what kind of
Email his email.
cologne.
Hey,
he uses.
Jordan, remember me? Yeah. Hey, what cologne do you wear?
I met you once and you smelled really good. I was just wondering what kind of cologne and aftershave you use.
Just curious. Thanks. XOXO Jordan.
I
Great.
think I'll draft that up.
Great question, Brian F. Thank you very much for writing in. Andrew Courtney writes in and says, after the varied degrees of shows we got from Xbox between E3 and Gamescom, which is the real Xbox? Why were the presentations so drastically different, and how can they do better to ensure the same quality of shows across an entire year? Jordan, why don't you take that? What was their best showing? Number 1, Gamescom, E3.
I feel like they were almost two different shows. I feel like E3 was the bigger show because it had the big announcements.
Yeah.
And I feel like Gamescom was doubling down on those announcements.
And bringing us some new teasers.
Well, yeah, because I feel like Gamescom we got a lot of we got some teasers. We got some. It felt like mostly like a lot of DLC, additional content to different features we already have. But I feel like I don't know. I feel like E3 was kind of like, hey, here's everything new that's coming out, and then Gamescom showed more features of that new stuff that was coming out.
Yeah. Which, depending where you're at, E3 was probably seen as, if you're not a gaming person, as a major, or not an Xbox person, as meh. Whereas Gamescom, it was like, oh, there's what Xbox, those are the games I'm looking for. That's what sets them apart. I don't think that there will be a consistency there because I think different conferences have different purposes.
I agree. Well, and with a lot of things being online, I think that even changed the purpose even again.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It is an interesting question, though. I think they're already doing better with their
How much
conferences.
money do you think they're saving from having to do these online?
Oh, a lot.
Like-
You don't have to fly. Think about just.
Do you think that's
flying-
why we got Bethesda? Because they're like, hey, we don't have to pay for E3 this
Yeah.
year. Why don't we just buy Bethesda?
Yeah, what, E3 costs us $7 billion.
Yeah,
a
why
year
don't
to
we
do?
just buy Bethesda?
They did buy a block right next door to E3.
yeah. So I'm telling you, man, they're probably saving a lot of money. I think you got to buy all the plane tickets for everybody and all that stuff.
How
you know?
long was the Microsoft Theater there for before?
Oh, well, it used to be the Nokia Center.
Nokia, yeah.
And then I don't know if it was anything before the Nokia Center.
T-Mobile Arena. I don't know.
Yeah,
No,
well,
that's Vegas.
That's Vegas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
because they purchased that and then everything goes to hell. They don't show up at E3 anymore.
Yeah, what will be interesting is does E3 return next year? Because we've had 2 years without.
But see, here's the deal though. They still use it for their
For production.
great production.
Yeah, for production. That's true.
I mean,
Well, and they use
you
the-
can't
yeah.
get that production without something
you
like
do
that.
need a location. Yeah.
Green screen it.
I mean, that's what Sony did, and everybody got pissed because it looked like Dana Carvey in a Saturday Night
that
Live
was
skit.
well. I didn't.
It's because the
it's
silhouettes
like-
up front don't have silhouettes.
that was so funny.
It's totally like
that was funny though.
Well,
that
and
was
speaking of like this, I think what's important that these guys need to do is to be specific onto what they are doing. If it's a reveal for awesome gameplay, be specific with that.
Set the expectation up front.
Correct. That's what was the issue with that one is all gamers were excited for the PlayStation 5. We're going to see what's revealed, and it was a technical.
Yeah, we're talking about theirs, what, about a year ago, their
Yeah.
green screen one.
yeah.
It's actually it's funny because it looks like Dana Carvey doing a Saturday Night Live skit, and I think it threw a whole bunch of people off. That's what happens when you green screen.
It really does.
But it
really
was
does.
funny. I, mean,
I laughed.
yeah,
I laughed,
so.
and I was
I don't
actually
know.
extremely fascinated. I thought that was an excellent discussion on the challenges that PlayStation had creating their hardware and the things they did around it, what it's capable of. I thought it was fascinating, but I have a technical brain, so I'm not saying other people don't, but I just really enjoyed his conversation.
I mean, if you're going there to expect games,
if you're going in there to expect game trailers and bang bang shoot, you're going to be very disappointed, which a lot of people were
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah.
Well, it almost makes me wonder if Nintendo has the best formula for the way they do it, because they have their Nintendo Directs, which are generalized stuff, and what they usually do is they usually kind of fill out the year, like, hey, this is what's coming this year. Maybe they'll get into some big announcements for next year and stuff, but then they have more specific Directs, like recently they had the Pokemon Direct, which was all about Pokemon. And actually, PlayStation did this, where they had their PlayStation State of Play, and it was only focused on Horizon. Maybe, do you think that's the way to do it? And then you can have a much short, because, it was only like 20-minute videos because you're focused on one thing. You give all the features. I don't know. Is that the way to do it?
No, I like what Xbox does.
Yeah.
I actually think Xbox is one of the better ones because Nintendo sometimes is too niche. So if I'm not interested in a game, I'm not watching that hyper focused
But
presentation.
they're always smiling with
Yeah, and they-
everything.
That's
Yeah.
true. That's true. That's
And
true.
they're just so enthusiastic in their suits, in their boardroom suits.
You
and everything.
know what's funny is, so I don't like Nintendo. I think overall is a good company. I don't think they're very consumer friendly, just like Sony, But what's funny is if Nintendo, which they have announced kind of what Sony announced, right? Like, oh yeah, we're not going to give you Zelda, we're going to give you, and because they basically Nintendo makes you rebuy their games at full price all the time.
every time there's
And
no
and
discounts.
And don't get me wrong, it's incredibly frustrating, and I really dislike it, and I wish they would be more consumer friendly and just let me play the game that I already own, stuff like that. But I don't know. I think it's the way they talk about it, and the fact that I think the media and people in general have gotten so used to being ignored by Nintendo that no one even just bothers anymore. It's like, hey, Nintendo, I don't like that you're re-releasing Skyward Sword again. Just let me play, or let me play it, or give it to me at a better price. And they just don't say anything and don't care. They've already moved on to the next game at that point.
That
they
is too
snap,
funny.
and it's the next game.
That is too funny.
So I don't. Whoever Nintendo's PR person is a genius.
No, I don't think they have one. I think it's straight
And that's
up
the genius.
just, we make games. This is great. Enjoy it.
Don't get me wrong. Nintendo has made its missteps. The Wii U didn't do very well, so they readjusted. And I don't want to say Nintendo's not consumer friendly, and and Sony isn't. They have aspects that are consumer friendly that help, but I'm just saying when you re-release a game for the 50th time for another $60 price tag.
Yeah. No, I
you
agree.
know,
Andrew Courtney.
Blizzard does that too. I had to watch.
Andrew Courtney, thank you very much for writing in. That is
they
a
don't hang around.
fantastic question. We do have one more question about Halo Infinite. Techie87 is getting a Series X, and he wants to know, are we excited with Halo Infinite?
Oh,
and
100%.
actually, that brings up this question to me, to you guys. What is your most anticipated game for the rest of the year? Is it Halo Infinite?
Right now, it's Halo Infinite.
Halo Infinite for you. So that answers Techie87's question.
But
yes,
I mean,
super stoked
to
for
be
Halo
honest,
Infinite. Why is it a Halo
well,
Infinite?
okay.
For you?
I mean, mine's a weird answer because it's the game. It's for me, it's the game I'm getting first. So actually, right now, it's Battlefield
Can't get it
2042.
until December 20th.
Yeah.
No, but most anticipated for the rest of the year. Let's say you could only pick one out of all the games that are coming out. What's the one you're most excited?
I would
for?
refuse to choose because it has to be two.
You get
Don't
nothing.
put limits on Jordan's answer, David.
Because right now, my most anticipated game is Battlefield 2042.
Yeah, but that's always gonna
because
be-
that's what I get in October.
Yeah, but
and
that's
then
always gonna
once
be.
that hits, it's going to be Halo after that.
But okay, let's say they both release at the same time.
I would probably play Halo first, and then quickly play Battlefield.
Remember,
right
we
after
do
that.
have Forza Horizon 5 on the way as well. We also have Back for Blood. Do any of those make it into the discussion?
Compared to those two,
No.
Battlefield and Halo are my games for this year.
Okay.
Like if I had to cut all of them out and only pick two,
And then out of those two, it would be Halo that you'd probably play first.
yes, but I would still play the other one.
Okay, Spicy. How about you?
It's kind of like
Most anticipated game remainder of the year. We're getting Halo Infinite.
Yeah. So
Far Cry 6 is on that
Yep.
as well.
Looks good. So I am going to have to say, I don't want to say that I'm not excited about Halo, which I am. If it was the most anticipated, it's going to be Forza, because I just love how relaxing and enjoyable.
You're ready
that game
for
is.
You're ready for an Explore Mexico time.
Yeah,
You're ready for Mexico.
I have, 10 months of the year I have shooters, but only so often do I get something different.
Yeah, Brother Buddha writes in and says Far Cry 6 is looking sweet, but Halo takes the crown.
Hey, but see, Halo is definitely right there. It's right behind it.
Yeah.
I would put Halo in front of everything else.
you're almost asking us which one of our children would we save
Yeah.
first in an emergency.
I am.
You know what I mean? And that's
I
where
am.
it's like, well, I mean, this one.
For me, I'm a
This one listens to me
huge
better,
Forza
and
guy.
this one-
Huge, love Forza. But I think Halo Infinite to me, and I'm also very excited for Battlefield
Really?
as well.
You're going to say, oh, cool. I thought you were going to go Forza first, too.
I think Halo Infinite, it feels like this reboot with what
Spiritual reboot is
spiritual
what they're saying.
reboot. Yeah, but it does feel that way. And what they're doing with multiplayer is the most fascinating to me. And I think that's what I'm most excited for.
No, I'm excited to see where they take the story, especially once you guys finish Halo 5 and we can discuss
I'm in the middle of it.
my.
Come on.
Yeah, what do you think of the story so far, Spicy? Halo 5.
It's good.
It's decent, but not anything to write home about.
I'm getting. I like the characters that I'm seeing, and we're progressing further.
Is there nudity?
Yeah, you really want to see Dr. Halsey, don't you?
Yeah.
Dr. Halsey. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but you like
no,
it.
there's no. To answer your question, no, there's no nudity
okay.
as of yet.
As of yet.
So we haven't installed that mod yet.
The dong mod.
Yeah.
the Rust dong mod.
Good old Master Chief. They think, yeah. That's
funny.
yeah. That's not a. They don't call him Chief for nothing, you know.
Yeah.
So Tech
That's
87.
not his rank. Let's just say that.
So Tech 87. Do we recommend him get Series X with Halo Infinite?
If he,
Well,
if,
I mean,
if, yes.
I
if
assume
you can find
the
one,
thing
yes.
the thing is I assume he already has Game Pass, so he's going to get a lot of these games
Ooh,
anyway.
yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Guys, that does us for today's show. Thank you, everybody who was here live. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Don't forget, we are over on YouTube. We are making some moves and some changes on YouTube. We are going to have a weekly series of videos that we think you guys will really like. We're not going to announce it now. After we drop the first one, it'll be every single week. So come join us. It'll be valuable content. Come join us live next week on Friday. We'll see you then. Happy Labor Day, everybody.
I'm walking away. There's a fire to find my bed. I'm looking